With Dragon's origins finally revealed and his reasonings for not taking in Luffy as a child was explained, we can finally get a better idea of his character. And so, in this video, I'm going to explore a reality in which Dragon raises Luffy. So, strap in, because I'm about to get real in depth with this what if. But before I do get into the video, if you guys enjoy content like this, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. Also, like the video because that does help with my video getting put out there on the algorithm, as I do post content like this regularly, and to be honest, it's a win-win. You guys show me love and support and reacting in the form of videos, whether it's One Piece, other anime, or just fiction in general. In due time I'll cover it, so be there when I go there. But I feel like I've rambled on long enough, so I'll jump straight into the video and find out what would happen if Dragon raised Luffy. So to begin the what if, we're going to start off with Luffy's origin. Now, Luffy does grow up as per usual, which means that he grows up until he gets his devil fruit and Shanks leaves the village, as then Garp takes him away from the village. But this time, it's not to go into the mountains with the bandits. Instead, Dragon says that he wants Luffy to come to him, as he feels as though that keeping his family closer to him to where he can protect them would be better than him being out there and possibly something happening, even if it's somewhere low key. So from this point onwards, after Garp drops him off and Luffy finally meets his father, Luffy is raised by Dragon. Now, the first year or two or three goes pretty swell, but just like in any timeline after he's met Shanks, Luffy promises his father that he will become a pirate. And unlike Garp, Dragon isn't going to say no to this. So he's like, yeah, you're going to become a pirate, but you're going to do it once you turn 17 years of age. And the reason I say this is because inside the One Piece world, it seems as though people view adults as 17-year-olds. Like once you turn 17, you can that's why the Dawn let him go. So I'm going to assume that's probably the case. Now, this doesn't mean that Luffy gets put onto a lot of revolutionary propaganda. In fact, he wouldn't even have to be put onto it, as he would just see it in live time growing up, and he won't be on the battlefield most of the time, but once he reaches a certain age, he will be. But before that certain age, the Revolutionary Army actually pick up somebody important. Now, they're not important at the moment in time, but they do become important later. You see, Dragon still does like to go back to Goa Kingdom and just see how it is why would he not? That's his birthplace, and even though Luffy's not there, it's just his homeland. He just wants to go back and check up on it. So what happens during that time? Well, he meets a kid called Sabo, and their interactions go as they usually do. And so that means that when everything in Goa Kingdom and Great Terminal happens, yes, he does come and he picks up Sabo, and he actually saves Sabo obviously after they had that emotional talk earlier. And so Luffy now has a friend. And so unlike in canon, Luffy will grow up with Sabo and they would form a very, very close bond. So close to the point where Luffy actually asked Sabo to join his crew. And Sabo originally is like, I want to be my own captain if I'm ever going to be a pirate. And so he's like, you know what? I kind of like the idea of this. So after being taught by the Revolutionary Army, these two leave it. And they have a lot of experience under their belts, even at a very young age. And aside from their obvious strength, the main takeaway from this is that Luffy would be way smarter and Sabo is joining him. So they go back to Fuchsia Village, and this is where they start their adventure. As Dragon said, you know, you might as well just start from where you met Shanks. And Luffy was like, yeah, no, that'd actually be kind of perfect. So they start from there. It's also great to mention that they will not be getting any help from Dragon. Dragon said that you guys want to be pirates, and Luffy kind of just argued for this, but if you're going to become pirates, then I'll let you guys do your own thing. So they don't get any revolutionary ships or anything, because that would be bad, as having a revolutionary ship puts a massive target on your back. So they're just going around in a regular boat, which means that they don't actually get swept up. But what they do is meet Alvida anyway while they're just rowing their boat on the sea. So can Alvida test them in any way? No. Now, even though they have food, Luffy and Sabo by proxy also ate a lot of the food while they were just rowing the boat. So they decide to step on the ship and take their food. As Sabo said, if we're going to be pirates, we might as well be pirates and take food from bad people. So Luffy agrees, and they stumble on the ship and begin to find things to eat. And while they're doing so, a boy called Kobe comes up to Luffy and thanks him. Luffy says it's okay, and Kobe like properly breaks down crying, and Luffy starts to talk to him. They begin to bond while Sabo asks the crew different ways that they could go, and Sabo's like, okay, cool, I know what to go from here. But Luffy's like, hey, I got this kid called Kobe, he's gonna join us. Now Kobe said he actually doesn't want to join them, he actually wants to become a marine. And Sabo says, do you really want to join? They're not as good as they seem. You become a revolutionary army member and we could definitely get you in. And Kobe's like, no, I want to become a marine. The Revs are bad people. Luffy and Sabo look at each other like, I don't think he knows, but it's fine, we'll let him go as most of the world doesn't know. And they're like, okay, if you look, I'm a marine man, we're gonna get you somewhere. Now Luffy says, I could just say that my grandpa is God. You see, in this timeline, Luffy is way more self-aware as he is raised by his father, and I doubt Dragon would let Luffy go around and be dumb about who he is as a person and the threat that it could pose to everybody around him if his identity was revealed. So Luffy scratches off the idea, and as they get to the nearest island with a marine base, Kobe then talks to them about Zoro. And funnily enough, Zoro is actually on this island. And when they go to the bar, they always see a girl who's been feeding Zoro, and they're like, let's actually see Zoro, because they're intrigued. So they're like, Kobe wants to join the Marines, and there's somebody captured there, and we want him on our team. Now after the girl feeds Zoro, they're like, yeah, we want Zoro on the team. He seems to be like a good person, and they hear everything else of how, even though on the surface he seems to be some bloodthirsty killer, he doesn't seem like it. So like, okay, Sabo goes in there and he's like, hey, you wanna join us? And Zoro's like, no. But Sabo then lies and says, hey look, the Marines aren't as great as you think, they're not gonna let you go. So Zoro's like, you know what, if it means that I can be freed from here, I will join you guys, but just know I'm not dying for any of you. And Sabo's like, cool, I guess, like it's fine, we just need some powerhouses with us as well. You think this will go down well? It doesn't, because Kobe runs in and brings the Marines out there and shows them that Zoro and Sabo are together and Zoro's just been untied. So what Kobe does, he runs over to them and he gives them both one punch and they fall over. Sabo tells Zoro to fall over as this is a massive part of their plan and he's just helping out that kid. Does Zoro care? No, but if he's going to be freed in the end, I guess he will just play along with it. Now, during this time, Luffy will be infiltrating the base and he'll actually overhear them about to execute Zoro before, so Sabo's lie isn't a lie. So he grabs Zoro's swords, busts out the window, and frees them both. And yeah, they just get away. Luffy waves to Kobe and the Marines think that Kobe can just run after and deal with him, but Kobe isn't that strong. It was just an act. So from this, Kobe has been enrolled into the Marines and they have left with Zoro. A spoiler alert, Kobe's story goes as usual. The three get onto the ship and go to Buggy's island, and this just goes as you would expect. They get to the island, they see that it's ran by some weird clown, and they beat him up easily. They also take his treasures, why wouldn't they? But this is where Nami tries to come in and steal it, but they catch her. And Nami's like, hey, don't kill me. I'll join you guys, I'll be your navigator. Did they really care? No, but I mean, it's an extra person and it's a navigator, somebody that they need because they did get lost. So the next island they go to is their village, and yeah, as soon as they find out who Kuro was, they literally just swept him off and just dealt with the entire thing. And Usopp asks if he can join the crew, and they're like, I mean, I guess. Luffy says that he needs 8 people in his crew, so he's like, yeah, cool, a sniper, that's pretty cool. And he also then realizes that that's also Yasopp's son, so yeah, just for the thematics of it all, you can come. So they get to go in merry and they head off. Now at this point, they start to realize that even though they've taken food from each island, they don't know how to cook it. So they're looking for a cook. And this is where Johnny and Yasuku then brought on the ship, and they try to steal from them, but it doesn't really go as planned. Zoro says, oh, it's you guys. And they're like, oh yeah, you guys can go to the Baratier if you want to find a cook. So they roll up to the Baratier. No, Luffy doesn't just fly through the roof. And they're like, okay, there's a bunch of chefs in here. Can we like pay for a chef? That's Sabo's idea, by the way. And they're like, no. But then Zeph's like, no, wait, hold on. We actually may have somebody that can help you. But we're not going to hand them over to you if we don't know what your intentions are and who you are as people. And so Luffy's like, yeah, I want to become the Pirate King. So I want the greatest chef in here. Zeph's like, you know what? This kid's kind of weird, but I mess with him. Now in everybody's minds, they all thought that Zeph was going to go, but instead it's Sanji. And so Zeph asks Sanji, do you want to go? And Sanji says, no, I have a debt to repay here. And Zeph's like, alright, cool. We're going to let you do what you're going to do, but for the next few days, we're just going to act like idiots to you. So the crew just hang around because they're waiting for a chef until Gin arrives. Sanji feeds Gin, and Luffy sees this and he likes it. He's like, yeah, you should definitely join our crew. You're really nice. And Sanji's like, nah, I'm good. Which then turns into what happens inside the story. The rest of the Don Creek pirates show up, and also Mihawk. Now Zoro does what he does in canon and challenges Mihawk, and the whole Baratier incident happens. But this time, Sabo decides to stay on the ship, as he just wants to monitor everything, as he doesn't trust that many pirates being around because they just lost their ship. So what if they stole our ship? But it's not one of the pirates that stole the ship. It's actually Nami that tries to, and he detains her instantly. And so she breaks down about everything that's happening on Arlong Park. And Sabo's revolutionary gene literally takes over. And so he's like, okay, let's go. But he says we'll wait for the crew, and then we'll pull up, and then we'll deal with Arlong. The crew easily dispatched with Don Krieg, and Sanji does join the crew as their cook. So we move on to Arlong Park, and they pull up on Arlong, and after the crew hears everything Nami had to say, they absolutely decimate Arlong, and it isn't even close. Now, a piece of Nami wanted to stay on Arlong Park, but she was like, I want to draw the whole entire world. I want to live out that dream. So she's like, yeah, I'll join you as your navigator. This then leads the crew into Logue Town, and this goes far differently, as they were mainly here just to get supplies and stuff, and Luffy was just wandering around. Now, Luffy does still wander around and everything with Buggy does happen. But this time, when Smoker tries to fight him, Luffy packs him up instantly. And instead of Dragon having to come and save him here, Dragon actually just stands on top of the building and just sees them off into the Grand Line. But it isn't as simple as that. As waiting on their ship, there is a face that they did not expect to see. And it's Koala. They be thinking, why in God's name is Koala here? But with Sabo and Luffy gone, her two closest friends, she decides that she wants to join them on their voyage. So she's now on the crew as well. She's pretty mad at them for not inviting her earlier, but she kind of just forces her way onto the crew, as the Revolutionary Army without either of them is kind of boring for her. I mean, she does like revolutionizing places, but she would just rather be with her friends and go on their voyage, and they can do whatever they want on their voyage. So she's here. Now, one thing I do need to talk on is how strong are Sabo and Luffy, and they are considerably stronger than they are in canon at this point in the series at least. Luffy is leaps and bounds stronger than where he was in the original series, and I mean leaps and bounds. Haki, amongst many other things that he was taught inside the Revolutionary Army, makes him an absolute beast, and he has way better control over his devil fruit. Sabo, on the other hand, he is stronger than where he was at inside the main stories, as he has Luffy to grow off of, and it's just way more competitive with him around. Koala does also receive a boost as well, so that is something that is very, very great to mention. Now for the rest of the crew, well, as they enter the Grand Line and they just saw him take down Smoker really easily, they're all puzzled at how they were able to just touch Smoker, and their answer is Haki. The crew doesn't know what Haki is, but they are like, oh, so we need to teach you. So they teach him. And the main teacher is Koala and Sabo. Luffy can't really teach that world, like he tries, but he can't really. And so the crew actually learned Haki from this early on. And we move into the Grand Line, they meet Crocus. And after they meet Crocus, they then go on to Whiskey Peak. Now, Whiskey Peak doesn't actually occur here, as Koala and Sabo are way too smart for it to happen to them. Koala may get tricked into it a little bit, but she doesn't really allow the woo of Whiskey Peak to take over them, and so does Zoro. Now, by the end, Vivi does reveal herself, and she breaks down about everything. This makes Koala, Luffy, and Sabo's revolutionary instincts kick in, and they're like, we cannot let this happen. We are going to go to Alabasta, we are going to deal with it. And so the next island they get to is Little Garden, and they meet the giants and take down Mr. Free pretty swimmingly. And they move on, and Nami still does get sick, so they are forced to go to Drum Island and meet Chopper. Do they recruit him? Well, yeah, they kind of need a doctor on their crew. They want to fill out all bases on their crew, so they recruit him. Then they go to Alabasta, and they completely take down Crocodile when they first meet him in the casino. Now, you think that the rest of Baroque works will come here, but they have just been freed from whatever he's doing. Mr. One may come, but he gets taken up by Sabo, and so the rest, they just go about their way. Well, everybody but Nico Robin. As Koala defeats her, she's like, I can tell that your heart's not really in it, number one. And number two, you are from Ohara, so you'll be better to join us than go out there. Unlike the deal in canon where Luffy just took on somebody from Ohara without knowing the incident, this time they take her on, and the reason they take her on is because she's the last survivor of Ohara, and Dragon sometimes talks about how this could be very valuable to the Revolutionary Army. And through this, they also confirm the existence of poneglyphs through Robin, saying that there's one in Alabasta. Now, Vivi and her father definitely let them do it. Cobra is fine with it, as they just saved the whole entire country, and so Robin goes and reads it, and then they leave. And so just like in canon, they get their bounties. But this time, the top bounties were Luffy, Sabo, Koala, and Zoro. Zoro gets it because of his previous past, but those three are put up there with 120 million bounty, a 72 million bounty, and a 56 million bounty. Zoro gets 32. Now, something that many of you may have caught on to is that I haven't talked about Ace yet. Yeah, Ace does exist, and yeah, he was in Alabasta, but he's in the area. So what happens when they go to Jaya? Well, they meet the brothers, everything happens with the brothers, and they intend on going to Skypiea, but as they go into town, a man approaches them, and just his presence alone makes everybody back away in fear from him, as the tattoo on his back is something synonymous with running the sea. As the group is about to enter the bar, he walks up to them and says, Sabo, wait. Sabo turns around as he doesn't know who this is and looks at him. And the second he looks at Ace in real time, he literally has an aneurysm. Okay, no, he doesn't have an aneurysm, but he blacks out. Ace meets Sabo, and the reason Ace is here is because number one, Blackbeard's here, but he's also just found out about Sabo because of his new bounty. This is a 2-in-1 for Ace. So he's like, yeah, I saw your poster and I was very, very shocked and surprised. And Sabo hadn't actually seen his bounty poster before, so this was just news to him. So yeah, Ace meets Sabo and they are celebrating. The relationship between Ace and Luffy is non-existent, so he's just like, oh, there's this guy. But as they're all sitting down chilling and drinking at the bar, somebody that Ace has been looking for sits down next to Luffy and orders. Now when he looks over, he meets eyes with somebody that he didn't expect to see here, and that person stops talking to Sabo and sees him. And in that split second, two devil fruits go off at once, and the fight breaks out. Luffy is confused, Sabo is confused, and Zoro is confused. But Blackbeard is like, okay Ace, you're here. I didn't expect you to be here, but let's go. Ace is like, I've been waiting for this. And now he's got Sabo, Luffy, and Zoro on his side. So they begin to fight. But what happens here is Blackbeard's crew comes in, but Sabo lays him out easily, instantly. So it's just them versus Blackbeard. And so how does Blackbeard do? Well, Blackbeard for one man does a lot. He actually fights for a very long time, but he realizes that with Luffy here, and Sabo here, and with Zoro who is gaining his footing on Haki, it's a bit hard for him to stay here and fight them all. The fight goes on for a pretty long time, but at the end, Blackbeard realizes that it's either he runs or they may kill him here. So he does what he always does, and he runs. Now, how does Ace, Sabo, and Luffy actually fare up against him? I'm gonna say Zoro because Zoro's only just learning Haki. He doesn't really add much to this fight. But those three, Luffy is the strongest, as his advanced Conqueror's Haki is here, and even though he doesn't have a good footing on it, he doesn't really know how to use it that well. His father just told him about it. He's used it a few times, but he hasn't really used it too intensely. He uses it here and there, and it's not as strong as you'd want it to be, but it still does enough damage to where Sabo and Ace can come in and they can deal even more damage to him. But this is Blackbeard. Remember, this is a Blackbeard that had Shanks worry. But even though these three can lay in some hits, and he's like, you know, I would rather run than sit here. So he runs. Now these three are like, okay, he's gone. And so Ace says, I'm gonna chase after him as I need him gone. So they're like, okay, cool, stay safe and just do what you need to do. So he's the Skypiea. Skypiea happens and they warp and now easily. They come back down to the ground and Kuzana's waiting. Now after that fight with Blackbeard, Luffy had to really sit with himself and be like, I need to get stronger, because if one man by himself can take on 4 people, I need to get stronger. And so when he fights Kuzan, this really opens his eyes as he just decimates the whole entire crew. So Luffy's like, you know what, I'm gonna really lock in. So he does. But Water 7 occurs and everything with Usopp losing the money, the Frankie house completely exploding, and then obviously everything was happening and them actually just straight up beating CP9. They also get an emotional moment with Robin, as Robin was going to leave them, as she just thought their alliance was like every other alliance that she's had. She thought that they were just going to use her and throw her away, but Koala and everybody else told them that no, they actually genuinely like her, and so she just apologizes for everything that happens. Apologizes to Frankie especially, and the crew didn't take her back in. Enies lobby was about to start, but they're too strong for that to happen right now. So this happens, and Frankie comes in and he's like, sorry for stealing the money. Tommy's like, I'll build you guys a ship for saving my life directly. And Frankie's like, I'll help you guys out too. As they were doing this, Luffy and Frankie bond a little bit, and Frankie's like, you know what, I might as well just join you guys on the sea, because I want to see this vessel get everywhere. And Luffy's like, you know what, a shipwright is needed. Now as they're about to leave, somebody throws a massive cannonball at their ship, and Luffy is surprised to see who it is. It's his grandfather. And everybody's shocked, because Garp is your grandfather? And they're like, whoa, that's your grandfather? And they're like, wait, they pieced it together. His name is Monkey D. They've already been explained that Monkey D. Dragon is his father. That's also another thing that the crew is literally blown away by in Alabasta, as they didn't tell him. They just said Koala's an old friend, and they didn't really explain the revolutionary past, but they were kind of forced to when they spoke to Robin in Alabasta. So they were blown away by that. And then they connected the dots and said, wait, Monkey D, Monkey D, Monkey D, Monkey D Garp. And that is revealed. They also get to see Kobe, and Kobe tries to jump on their ship and try to fight him, but it doesn't really go as planned. Luffy kind of just suns him, and he's like, yeah. And Garp's like, nah, don't worry, he was trained by his father. It's gonna take a little bit of time for you to get there, don't worry, son. But they all leave, and then they go to Thriller Bark. They meet Brook. Luffy actually asked him to still join the crew, as he just wants a musician on the crew, even though Sabo was like, didn't you say 10? We're at the 10 limit already. And he's like, well, Koala kind of forced herself onto the crew, and second of all, it's a musician. I want a musician. We know how kiddish Luffy can be, so he wants a musician. So they do everything that they do in Thriller Bark, and it goes down way smoother than it did in canon, as Koala and Sabo are here to keep track of Luffy, and the crew are just way stronger than they were in canon, like leaps and bounds stronger than they were in canon at this point. So they deal with the arc pretty easily, and Kuma comes in, and instead of him trying to do something to them, he plays chess with them. Yeah, they literally just chill, celebrate, and have a party because Thriller Bark was taken out of Gecko Warrior's control. The bounties increase even more past this point. Luffy does actually touch 400 million. Zoro is around 105, and everybody else on the crew has their regular bounties from canon. So they move into Sabo, and when they are there, they stumble upon the auction, and they are absolutely pissed. And this comes off of the heel of their conversation with Rayleigh and Shaki. And so the crew literally busts out every slave inside of the entire warehouse and destroys everything in there. Everybody that's watching is appalled by this. And one of the Celestial Dragons tries to shoot Luffy. We all know who would, Charlos. And Luffy dodges it, jumps up to him, and punches him across the face. This shocks the entire room. And so what's happened? Kizaru's called in. And Luffy's ready. Because everybody's like, yeah, we know an admiral's coming. We don't care. I don't want to see this ever again. So Kizaru comes. And so it's Rayleigh, Luffy, Koala, Sabo, and the rest, the Straw Hats, up against Kizaru. And how do they fare? Well, the rest of the Straw Hats are actually just taking off the fodder and everybody else that's trying to come in, while you have the main guys taking on Kizaru. And the main guys actually do a very, very good job at keeping Kizaru just in a place to where he feels overwhelmed. Even though Rayleigh hasn't picked up a sword in a long time, having these guys come in, especially Luffy, come in and just help him, it allows him to tee off and land attacks on Kizaru a lot easier, and so does Luffy. And so they start to wear down Kizaru. And wearing down Kizaru is a very, very good thing. So what does this get? Well, they actually get to defeat Kizaru, and that's mainly because of Rayleigh's assistance. If Luffy, Sabo, and Koala were here, I'm sorry to tell you, even though he has been leveling up ever since Blackbeard and Kuzan, he wouldn't be at that point just yet, as he doesn't have gear 5, and he doesn't even have gear 4 yet. Gear 2 and 3, he may have gear 2, he definitely has gear 3. Rayleigh assists them heavily. Unfortunately for the group, they have to run, as this isn't a beneficial spot for them. So they run, and Rayleigh tells Shaki that they have to jump on the ship, because once they leave the island, Rayleigh's former just frozen bounty is now activated, and it is upped, because the last time an admiral was taken out like this, it was rocks. So the Dark King is now active again, and everybody else's bounty gets a massive inflated boost. Luffy is now at 2.4 billion, Sabo is at 2 billion, Koala is at 1.6 billion, and the rest of the Straw Hats are at around damn near where they are at in canon right now for their bounties. Why? Because they have some of the most dangerous people with them. From Robin to Rayleigh, punching a Celestial Dragon, defeating an Admiral, having dangerous people in your group, yeah, you deserve those bounties. So as I said, they flee. And they flee to a random island where Rayleigh can finally coat their ship, and he tells them to be wary as the world is now watching them. And they ask, where are they going? And they're both like, well, we're gonna just head to Amazon Lily. We'll be fine there. They won't find us there because there's just an undetected island on their radar because Bo is there. So they're like, okay. So they sail into the New World. Now in canon, Marineford would happen around now. Obviously, they weren't meant to win here, but they do. So where do they go from here? Well, this is where they go. It cuts to Ace and Blackbeard. Ace has finally stopped Blackbeard, and they now have to fight again. And they fight down to the wire. Even though Blackbeard has that advantage, as Ace is less injured, and it's been him chasing Blackbeard instead of it kind of being a meet and they're both fighting equally, Ace does have the upper hand overall when it comes down to just how he's feeling strength wise, but in the end it ends in the stalemate. Blackbeard, if he had just a little bit more health and the strength in him overall from the beatings that he took from Luffy and Sabo earlier, then maybe yeah, he would have been able to take down Ace. But right now they're both just on the ground bleeding out. But somebody comes to Ace's rescue. Because his Rivet card was starting to fade, Whitebeard comes in the nick of time, takes him, and he sees Blackbeard. And what he tells Blackbeard completely breaks him before his world is just actually shattered. What he says is he's nothing like his father, and he will never ever live up to his father's legacy before killing him. So, with the One Piece world missing an admiral, Blackbeard dead, Ace alive, and the Straw Hats heading into the new world, I wonder how this what if would play out in part 2. Yeah, there's gonna be a part 2 to this. If I see the support is here for this, then I will give you guys a part 2. Tell me if you guys like this type of format where I do it in parts, as if you do, then a lot more what ifs can come out this way. But yeah. Anyway, that is the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, as I certainly did enjoy making it. As I just said, making what ifs is probably my favorite thing to do, because it's always fun to just experiment with stories. And if you guys want this to continue, then you know what to do. Hit the like button, hype the video and everything, and I will deliver. So yeah, I shall see you guys in the next video. I love you all. Goodbye.